Words so sharp, they cut right through. Real talk for the soul's appeal. Prayers rise up the wounds they heal. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. Each step brings another fight. Breaking chains, we're seeking light. Voice of power won't be tamed. With His love, we're never ashamed. Lift our voices to the sky. A righteous perspective high. On this path we won't back down. For the Father wears the crown. From the ashes we shall rise. Hope is found deep in our eyes. Every word a battle cry. With the Father none deny.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ARP in the morning. I am your host, Wise. I appreciate you guys pulling up to a righteous perspective in the morning. God bless each and every one of you guys on this fine Tuesday morning. We got a heck of a show to get into today. We got a lot to get into. I don't think the show is going to be too long, but we definitely we got to talk about what happened yesterday, at the White House. We're going to talk about your favorite journalist out there, Taylor Lawrence. We're going to talk about her as well. But I appreciate you guys pulling up this morning, man. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that like button for me. Let me show some love to the folks in the chat. What's going on, Redefined Queen? Shout out to you this morning. First person in the chat early this morning, 8:41 a.m. God bless you, sister. Appreciate you pulling up. She says, good morning and have a blessed day all. Shout out to you. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Big Job Ford? How you doing this morning? What's up, Scott Jung? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Larry Montgomery? How you doing this morning? What's up, Zephyr K9? How you doing this morning? Marianne, how you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Donald? How you doing this morning? Shannon Hawkins in the house. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Brian M? Thea Flies High. Appreciate you pulling up. Lori Ottison. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. What's up, Marta? How you doing this morning? Shannon Hawkins. What's up, Shelby? How you doing this morning? Howard Simmons, Martinsburg, West Virginia in the house. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Abrexis? How you doing this morning? Woodbridge, Virginia. Appreciate you pulling up. My son lives out that way, not too far away, just a little north of Woodbridge. But yeah, that's I guess still technically considered Northern Virginia, DC suburb. What up, JJ? How you doing this morning? Steve, how you doing this morning? Buffalo in the house. What up, Christy? Chi-Town in the house. What up, EDH? How you doing this morning? Yeah, you pulled up somewhat early, not too early, but somewhat. What's up, Billy W? It is tax day for those of you guys that are have to owe taxes. Lord knows that was me. What's up, Queen Chloe? How you doing this morning? You got your Starbucks this morning with your pinky in the air? What's up, Toy Mafia? How you doing this morning? Josephine Ramirez, how you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Quincy? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Kenneth? How you doing this morning, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Buddha? How you doing this morning? Hey, Miss LJ Taylor, how you doing today? Cool, Ramon. What's going on with you? Appreciate you pulling up. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. What up, Ed? How you doing this morning? Mississippi's finest in the house. What's going on? What's up, Miko? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. Hobo Ride Perspecting. Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Baby Lungs? How you doing this morning? Burnsville in the house. Minnesota. What's up, Matthew? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. PK Krillin, what's going on with you? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Chef G Rap? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's going on? Kevin Caldwell, appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. What up? Is it Dallas? Dallas Howard? Yeah, Taylor Lawrence is evil. She's definitely evil. We're going to talk about her today. What's up, Marla? How you doing? Hey, Louise, how you doing? Be More in the house, my Be More sister. What's up with you? How you doing this morning? I hope all is well. Hope all is well. Your Z, fight for your right. Appreciate you pulling up. Shout out to Europe. We're at in Europe. Let me know where you're watching from in Europe. What up, Scott 8T8? What up, RJ Hudson? How you doing? What up, Nelly? Face of Bo. What's going on, man? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What up, Amy Horde? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. What up, Francis? What's going on? We got a Alpha Jerk, Chi-Town in the house. We got a lot of Chicagoans, man. A lot of Chicagoans. We're gonna have to talk a little more about Chicago and Jessica Jackson and Miss Danielle out there. Man, they're doing great work, man. I'm looking forward to hearing who is going to be the candidate that's going to run on their behalf. I'm looking forward to hearing that. I think Danielle should do it. I think she has the ability to do it. What's up, Terry? How you doing this morning? Kentucky in the house. What up, EH? We got Honolulu, Hawaii in the house. What's up, Melissa? Now, you up early or you staying up late? Let's see. It's a 6-hour difference. It's 3:30 in the morning out there. What are you doing up this daggone late? What's up, Melissa? I used to live out there, not in Honolulu. I actually lived in Kailua and Kaneohe Bay. We were out there at Marine Corps Base, Hawaii, way back when. This was 05, 06. My youngest son was born out there. My older son started school out there. This was way back in the day, but really, really cool place. Expensive is all get out. Goodness gracious, that place is expensive. It really is. Great place though, man. I enjoy being out there. People nice, food good, but really expensive. Really expensive. And that was way back. That was, man, at this point now, I guess 20 years ago. And it was crazy expensive. What's up, Tina Hall? How you doing this morning? Is it the Prissy Posh Possum? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. All right. True Texan in the house. What's going on with you, brother? We're going to get the show started here. Well, I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Good to hear, Louise. I'm glad all is well out there. What's up, Annie Love from Mississippi or Horn Lake, Mississippi? Appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Stephanie Brown? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. All right, let's get the show started. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that daggone like button for me. As you can see, I got my coffee right here. I'm sipping on my 10 mushroom coffee. I'm not promoting this. I don't get any money from these people. I just enjoy the product. It's really good. Good mushroom coffee, man. We're going to get the show started. Man. I would like to see, I don't know how many likes we'll get to today. Maybe 300 likes or so. I would definitely like to see that. Queen Chloe out of Dallas. I knew it. Y'all see a lot of hoity-toity people out there in Dallas. Hey, Kenneth, I agree with you, man. I think she definitely could run out there in Chicago. I don't know if she'd want to do it, but I think she could. I definitely think she could. What's up, James Guest? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. What's up, Pat Keenan or Keenahan? Appreciate you pulling up. I am Bast. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. Yeah, y'all got some hoity-toity people out there in Dallas, man. Hoity-toity people out there in Dallas. I used to go out there in the summer months when I was growing up. My grandma actually lived in Arlington, and we used to go out there in the summer. Well, I'm gonna say we. I used to go out there in the summer for the summer and hang out. I really enjoyed it out there. It gets really hot, but I really enjoyed it out there. But yeah, y'all got some bourgeoisies out there, man. Y'all got some bougie folks out there. What's up, Dion? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. What's up, Eric? Voices for the voiceless. Appreciate you pulling up this morning. All right, let's get the show started, man. Like I always say, man, please make sure you hit the like button. That is the number one way. That's all I ask, when you pull up to the live chat this morning. But if you would like to support the channel in another way, obviously join in the ARP family, or you can buy your man a coffee, link in the description box below. I appreciate everybody that supports the channel, even just by liking and watching the videos all the way through. That helps out a lot. What's up, Dr. Silla? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up. Super chats will stop the show. Super thanks will stop the show. Anybody that joins the ARP family during the live stream, it will stop the show. We will acknowledge them. Anybody that gifts an ARP family membership, it will stop the show, and we will acknowledge them as well. Shout out to the Blues. Appreciate you guys keeping things civil in the chat. What up, B? How you doing this morning, sister? Appreciate you pulling up, as always. But let's get the show started, man. Let's get things kicked off. We're going to start off with President Trump and El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele. We're going to get things started there. And no worries. No worries. No worries. But I definitely appreciate you pulling up and supporting your guy here. Thank you very much, B. Let's get the show started. Make sure y'all hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already.
Who your administration says was mistakenly deported. The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
All right. We got to talk about this story, man. Because I think this one right here, it might have broke CNN yesterday. What's up, MJ? How you doing this morning, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. This morning. What's up, Chadrick? Linda Valentine, appreciate you pulling up this morning. Thank you very much. But we got to talk about it, man. We got to talk about this story, man, because I think this one right here might have broke Caitlin Collins. It might have broke CNN. Everybody's talking about this. I did a short video on it yesterday, but I just, I felt the need that, hey, let's dive into it a little more today. But President Trump and El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, they had a very fiery exchange. And the crazy thing is, it's bad when Caitlin Collins' voice. I don't think she actually shows herself on camera, but it's bad when her daggone voice. She is an annoying individual. Not really a journalist. What's up, Kenny G? How you doing this morning? Not really a journalist, though. I'm not really sure what you call it. What's up, Reverend Patrick King? Appreciate you pulling up this morning. But we got to talk about this, man, because this exchange with Caitlin Collins from CNN, I want to say, let's just say this. The fake news media got put all the way in their place. The fake news media got put all the way in their place. This all stems from a messy deportation case involving Kilmore Abrego Garcia, who is a Maryland resident, and hold that thought. Shout out to Ed Marr for gifting 5 ARP family memberships. If you receive one of those memberships, man, make sure y'all show Ed some love in the chat. For gifting the ARP family membership. Appreciate you, Ed. Thank you very much, man, for supporting the channel. Thank you. But Garcia, who is a Maryland resident, and for those of you guys that are out here in Maryland, there is a huge MS-13 presence more closer to DC. If you look outside of DC, just north, Gaithersburg, Germantown area, there is a section there where there is a lot of MS-13. That's what I heard. That's just what I've heard. I also heard that there are some down in DC, down in the DC market. What's up, Chrissy? How you doing this morning? How you doing this morning? I'm surprised you up. I'm surprised you up, babe. But yeah, this guy, he's, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's, from that Germantown, Gaithersburg area up north. And hey, they sent him to El Salvador. And I don't know if we covered it. Actually, we did cover it about maybe 2 weeks ago, where they were sending these people, that prison down there in El Salvador. It is no joke. That is not a prison that is not a prison that anybody would want to go to. That prison is no joke. It's no joke. And I mean, the crazy thing is that we know that you had one of these district judges out here that tried to stop it, or tried to force the guy to come back, or force the president or the folks out there in El Salvador to send them back. I mean, it's crazy. I don't understand it, but we're going to get into it. They wanted the people out in El Salvador to send this particular individual back, despite a Supreme Court ruling saying that the U.S. had to bring him back. The Trump administration, they deported him anyway, claiming, he's an MS-13 gang member, and now Bukele's refusing to send him back, calling the idea of returning a terrorist preposterous. Yes, because it is. I mean, things got heated when Collins tried to grill them both, on this particular topic. Trump's team, including Pam Bondi, Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, they didn't hold back, man. They didn't hold back. Trump, he didn't hold back at all. You could tell that he was visibly annoyed. Visibly annoyed. They didn't hold back, and Bukele, he joined in as well to basically roast the media. He joined in as well. For the life of me, I don't understand why they want to fight for these people. I just don't understand it. I don't get it.
And you are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant, because they're totally slanted, because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As 2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States, and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan
But
to
the
ask for
Supreme
any
Court is
help to get
asking
him back?
to,
And
that
what was
what
the
you
ruling
did?
in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
In our favor.
in our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual at El Salvador's sole discretion was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked
¿Usted lo
President
liberaría,
Bukele,
Presidente
what is your-
Bukele?
can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm suppose you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
How can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
But you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal,
Yeah,
released into
I mean, there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say about
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin, except for Venezuela that wasn't refusing to take people back or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
Shout out to Queen Chloe for joining the ARP family. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you for supporting the channel. And shout out to Dr. Silla. She said, I guess, I'm assuming she's saying they prefer illegals because they think Americans are lazy. That may be true. Or they just like the cheap labor. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they like the cheap labor. But I gotta say this, man. I gotta say this. I gotta give it to Bukele. I don't know how much you guys know about him, but when he took over as president down in El Salvador was considered, if I'm not mistaken, if not the most dangerous country in the world. It was in that top 5 as far as, top most dangerous countries in the world. And this dude got in there and not playing around. He got in there and started locking up all these gang members. They built this compound. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see it, but this compound is crazy. I mean, it's layers on top of layers on top of layers of wall and fence. You're not getting out of there. They have not had any one person, no one has escaped that daggone prison. Once they got you in there, it's a wrap. You done. Honestly, I think we should probably contract with El Salvador to send some of the folks that we have here in this country. Send they behinds there. Some of the people that's committed some of the most heinous acts. Send they behind there. I mean, that is a crazy place, and this dude cleaned it up in no time. Now, he has had people come out, from different countries, out in England and, from up here that tells him what he's doing. It's cruel and inhumane and things of that nature. But nobody had anything to say when, the crime, and the heinous acts in that country was outrageous. No one had anything to say. But for whatever reason, they really love criminals on the left. They really do. Liberals. And that's not just liberals in this country. That's liberals in Europe as well. They really like the criminal population, man. They really do. So I got to give it to President Bukele, man. Great dude. And Rubio's been one of the most pleasant surprises. He's been one of the most pleasant surprises, in the entire administration, in my opinion. He has been. I wasn't for sure what we were going to get with him, but he is showing himself as quite capable. Seriously. An alpha jerk. You get no argument from me on that right there. You get no argument from me on that right there. But what we're seeing right now, what we're witnessing, is a complete meltdown from the media and the progressive left because the Supreme Court and a foreign leader are finally saying no to the political games and the open border madness. So here's what happened. A federal judge originally claimed that, the Trump administration had to go to El Salvador and physically retrieve this guy. That's what a daggone district federal judge said. They got to go to El Salvador and they got to go bring this dude back. I mean, it's ridiculous. The claim was that he was mistakenly deported and he had to be brought back to the country, even though multiple courts had already determined that he was an illegal alien and a known gang member. Multiple courts. And then the Supreme Court, they stepped in and clarified that the judge's order was too vague and might overstep their authority, especially since the United States can't just force another country like El Salvador to send someone back. And the thing is, it would only be sending them back to send them to court to deport them back to El Salvador. Complete waste of taxpayers' money, if you ask me. That's not how any of this works. That's not how any of it should work. And thankfully, the Supreme Court set the record straight. The most the government could ever do is facilitate a return only if El Salvador voluntarily sent them back. We wouldn't block him for re-entering ICE custody, but that's the only way. And that's it. That's the extent of what's even legally possible. But I don't understand why they would even want that to happen. Why are they losing it? Why the hysteria? The left is out there. They're saying that, this illegal migrant, was wrongfully deported. Democrats like Senator Van Hollen, they've turned this into a political sideshow, man, saying that Garcia isn't, Garcia isn't returned, or if he isn't returned by midweek, he's planning to fly to El Salvador personally to negotiate his release. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen this note right here, but give me a second. Let me pull this up for you. This is crazy. These people, I just don't understand them, man. I don't understand them. I don't understand them. And here's where it gets tricky. I mean, yes, technically, Garcia's deportation, it was a screw up, technically, to some degree. He had a 2019 order protecting him from being sent back to El Salvador. He was living in Maryland legally with a work permit, not as some random, border jumper. He was here, I don't know how much you guys know about Maryland, but it's one of those, sanctuary states, and we got a bunch of sanctuary cities in this state. Unfortunately, we have it, which is also a lot of the reason why, the country is in a mass, or our state is in a massive deficit, because, we're taking care of a plethora of illegal immigrants, here in this daggone state. But here's the thing, man. Garcia entered the U.S. illegally as a teenager back in the day. He had MS-13 ties, so we should not pretend that he was some saint. We shouldn't. So, while the deportation, might have been a mistake on paper, it doesn't change the fact that Democrats are using this guy as a poster child to push their open border policy agenda. I mean, they love illegal immigrants. The left loves illegal immigrants. They love it. Even the ones with questionable backgrounds, because it fits their narrative of quote unquote compassion. And this is exactly why so many Americans feel like, Democrats basically hate the nation. This is why. Yes, Louise, he was in Maryland. Oh yeah. This is why a lot of daggone people in the country feel like Democrats, they hate the country. They hate the nation. They do not care for American citizens. They're more worried about protecting someone like Garcia, who came here illegally and has alleged gang ties, than they are about enforcing our laws and keeping our community safe. They'd rather return, or I'm sorry, they'd rather turn this into a sob story for their base than admit that illegal immigration is a problem. They would rather turn this into, a what do you call it? They would turn this story and turn this guy into the poster child for quote unquote people being deported, even though this dude already had he had already, been told that he should be deported. And honestly, he should have been deported a while ago. He should have been. I mean, these people are fine with sanctuary cities. They're okay with, giving work permits to people that shouldn't be here. And now they're crying over a guy who Bukele himself called a terrorist. I mean, Trump's been saying it for years that these people don't care about America. They only care about power and votes. And he called him out on it. He called him out on it during that same Oval Office meeting with Bukele, saying that the media, legacy media, the Democrats, they hate our country. And of course, CNN's response, I mean, it's sort of telling, but I mean, I guess we shouldn't expect anything different from these people. We shouldn't.
CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
Before I get to you, I just want to say, for the record, since we heard President Trump say in the Oval Office that CNN hates our country, CNN does not hate our country. That should go without saying. I've been here for 32 years, and I see a rhetorical device in him trying to say such a thing.
I think Scott Jennings might be on vacation, Dr. Silla. He hasn't been on CNN since last week. He might be on vacay, and I don't blame him. When you're in a room, full of vipers, every now and again, you got to daggone just get away. You got to get away. But I don't know about you guys, but, isn't it quite telling that Dana Bash, of all people, thought that needed to be said? That really must have cut him deep. When President Trump came out there and said, hey, CNN hates our country, that must have cut them deep.
Like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
Before I get to you, I just want to say, for the record, since we heard President Trump say in the Oval Office that CNN hates our country, CNN does not hate our country. That should go without saying. I've been here for 32 years, and I see a rhetorical device in him trying to say such a thing.
That must have cut him deep. That must have cut him deep right there, man. It must have. The fact that they had to go on there and address that. I mean, he did clown them a multitude of times. That's the reason why nobody's watching you guys. If I didn't do this, I wouldn't watch CNN. I watch CNN, for the content because they give us something to talk about on a day-to-day basis. Oh, man. But Andy, you're absolutely right. Action speaks louder than words. You judge CNN. Is CNN a tree, a good tree that produces good fruit, or a bad tree that produces bad fruit? Which one is it? I'm going to say a bad tree that produces bad fruit. What's up, Bill? Appreciate you pulling up. First live. All right. Appreciate you, man. Y'all make sure y'all show Bill some love in the chat, man. Man. Oh, man, I tell you, if you're just doing this, if you're just doing journalism, if that's all you're doing, if you're just doing journalism, why do you need to add a warning label? Why do you need to add a warning label? She gets on her, hey, by the way, hey, we don't hate the country. We don't really hate the country. But this is how far gone today's Democrat Party is, man. This is how far gone today's Democrat Party is. I mean, they're working harder than ever to bring back an illegal gang member than they are to secure the daggone border or to help actual American citizens. It's ridiculous. This guy is literally not from the United States. This guy is literally not from the United States. He is a citizen of El Salvador. He is a citizen of El Salvador. Came here illegally, and now he's being held, in a prison in his home country. And yet, these Democrats, they want to strong arm a sovereign nation into letting him go. It's crazy. What happened to respecting the sovereignty of other nations? Isn't that what the left always preaches? The hypocrisy, man. If Trump tried to tell a foreign country what to do with their citizens, they'd call it, they call him everything under the sun. He's an imperialist. He's a fascist. Oh, look at him. He's trying to take over nations now. Y'all know that's what he would do. That's what they would say. But now they're demanding. They're not asking. They are demanding that President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador hand over a gang member who's not even American. That is absolutely crazy. Crazy. Bukele himself was asked about it, and he shut it down immediately, and he should have. I'm glad he did. What do you want me to do? Smuggle a terrorist, into the United States? That's what he said. These people are crazy. These people are crazy. I mean, it should be common sense. He shouldn't have to come out and say that, hey, here in El Salvador, we're not fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned, one of the most dangerous cities in the world into one of the most safest countries in the world. I'm sorry. We just turned one of the, most dangerous countries in the world into one of the most safest countries in the Western Hemisphere. Why in your rabid mind do you think that we would reverse course? Why? And let's be clear, about this Garcia guy who has ties to MS-13, a violent gang involved in drug trafficking, rape, brutal assault, and all, and everything else, drug dealing, you name it, they're into it. President Trump, he declared these guys, MS-13, a foreign terrorist organization, which under U.S. immigration law made Garcia ineligible for any form of immigration relief. Now, over on Fox News, we got to talk about Stephen Miller. Because whether you like that dude or not, I mean, he came in with the receipts, laid it out plain, which is something you did not see from the previous administration. It was rare that you had somebody that would get on TV and explain in almost layman terms for the average American to understand. He lays it out. He lays it out. If you're an illegal alien with ties to a foreign terror group, you're not owed a welcome mat. And if you preach hate against the United States, you don't get to hide behind a loophole. It's pretty simple. And if your presence threatens American lives, you're out of here. That's a message I can get behind. I don't know about you all, but that is a message I can get behind.
Said a federal court cannot compel the executive branch to engage in any mandated act of diplomacy or incursion upon the sovereignty of another nation. So your argument is that you don't have to bring him back home, but will you?
So I want to correct, I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said because it was all wrong. First, we won the Supreme Court case, clearly, 9-0. A district court judge said unconscionably that the president and his administration have to go into El Salvador and extradite one of their citizens, an El Salvadorian citizen, so that would be kidnapping, that we have to kidnap an El Salvadorian citizen, against the will of his government and flying back to America, which would be an unimaginable act and an invasion of El Salvador's sovereignty. So he appealed to the Supreme Court, and it said clearly, no district court can compel the president to exercise his Article II foreign powers in any way whatsoever. DOJ called me after that Supreme Court ruling, and they said, this is amazing. We won this case 9-0. We are in excellent standing here. So this has been portrayed wrong for 72 hours in the media. They said the most a court could ever compel you to do would be to facilitate return, which would basically mean if El Salvador voluntarily sends him back, we wouldn't block him at the airport. We would put him back into ICE detention, and then he would be deported either back to El Salvador or somewhere else. The Supreme Court said that is the most the government can be expected to do. So we won the case handily. The misreporting on this has been atrocious.
Okay,
Secondly,
I appreciate
he was
the
not, no, Bill, it's
clarification
important.
that's the case.
He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador.
Okay, so do you still
He's an
believe he
illegal
is
Yeah. So really what this is it's a correction. It's a correction, a full-fledged correction to 4 years of open border policies. That's what this is. Everything that we're seeing, the deportations, the tougher stance, it's all in direct response to Biden's open border negligence. It's all in response to it. Yet the liberal media keeps pushing this same sob story narrative. CNN is asking loaded questions, acting like this guy was mistakenly deported, conveniently opting to leave out that he had a final removal order, was already in ICE custody, and was determined to be a gang member by multiple courts. Even President Trump and his team addressed this directly in a press conference. They did this. They said, and I quote, "There is no version of this where he ends up living in the United States of America again. If El Salvador sends him back, he gets deported again. That's it." I mean, it's insane to me. Seriously. It is insane that this is the hill that Democrats want to die on. But then again, there's a couple crazy hills that they're willing to die on. They're defending illegal immigrant gang members and bullying smaller countries to do their bidding. But they're not going to win this fight. They're not going to win this fight. The law is clear. The Supreme Court was unanimous, 9-0. And El Salvador, President Bukele, they're not budging. So here's the bottom line. This is fake outrage. This is a fake outrage campaign by a fake news network. These people are not journalists. They are paid propagandists for the Democrat Party. I will repeat that. These people are not journalists. They're not doing any hardcore journalism or investigation. They are paid propagandists for the Democrat Party. Legacy media, these daggone Democrats, they're trying to gin up some sympathy for a gang member who shouldn't have been here in the first daggone place. They should not have been in this country in the first place. You want to go to El Salvador and bust this guy out yourself? Be my guest, man. You try it. You'll be behind bars with the rest of those dudes. That is no place. That is no jail that I would ever want to be close. I don't even want to go visit. Shout out to the guy that did the documentary, and he went up in that joint. I don't even want to go visit places like that. Like, hey, man, I'm sorry, man. I don't even want to go visit you there. Seriously. Seriously. That's not even a place I want to go visit. But, you know, if you want to go try to bust this guy out, go for it. Be my guest. But don't be surprised when the people you're trying to bully say not on our watch. And the crazy thing is that the same people that they're fighting for, they wouldn't have them as neighbors. They wouldn't have them in their neighborhood. Think about this. They would not take these people in. Y'all know it. This is a bunch of grandstanding. At the end of the day, man, it's pretty simple. It's about keeping criminals off our streets. It's about taking the incentive away. Even if the deportation was technically somewhat a screw up. The guy shouldn't have been here in the first place. And if had he not been over here illegally, we wouldn't have had to send him, we wouldn't have had to deport him. And now he is right where he belongs, in El Salvador, with his folks. The Supreme Court made it clear. The U.S. cannot enforce El Salvador to send him back. And Bukele standing firm, saying that he's not smuggling a terrorist back into America. So I want to know, why are Democrats fighting so hard for this guy? And I think it's because they're against keeping criminals out. They would like to see this nation crumble. That's what they would like to see. They want to see chaos reign, and they want to see our nation crumble. Shout out to Jeanette with the $4.99 super chat. There is no Democrat Party, it's the Communist Party. Yeah, CPUSA. CPUSA. They've been around for quite some time. They've been around for quite some time. The CPUSA has been around dating back to the 50s. Dating back to the 50s. But this isn't a new thing. This isn't a new phenomenon, with our friends over on the left. It isn't. This isn't a new phenomenon with our friends over on the left, who seem to have a sweet spot for people who break the law. They love it. They love it. And speaking of that, we got to talk about Taylor Lorenz. Y'all know who Taylor Lorenz is. Former New York Times, Washington Post writer. Now she's trying to claw her way into independent media relevancy. And in true Taylor fashion, she's not making headlines for honest reporting or groundbreaking journalism. No, she's not doing that. She's in the news for, romanticizing Luigi. The guy that assassinated the United Healthcare CEO, if you guys recall. We're going to get into it real fast. We're going to get into it. So CNN, they had her on a segment with Donnie O'Sullivan, who is, I guess you would consider him, their misinformation guy, to talk about online reactions to Luigi Mangione, the man who's accused, we got to say accused, who's accused of assassinating the CEO of United Healthcare in cold blood, I might add. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to see it, but I don't know what she was thinking with this. But Taylor Lorenz, she does what she does, basically gushes about, how women are basically standing this guy. And for standing for the, I guess the kids nowadays would say glazing or something along those lines, I think. Basically, she was saying things like he's famous, he's smart, he's handsome, and he seems like a quote unquote morally good man. But the last time I checked, morally good people don't necessarily do the type of things that he's accused of doing. I mean, we're talking about someone, who has been charged with, assassinating a father of two. But instead of condemning the act, I mean, she's giggling on air like it's a high school crush, while Donnie just nods along. Oh man, these people are sick, man. They really are. These people are sick.
See these millionaire media pundits on TV clutching their pearls about someone standing a murderer, when this is the United States of America, as if we don't lionize criminals, as if we don't have, we don't stand murderers of all sorts, and we give them Netflix shows. There's a huge disconnect between the narratives and the angles that sort of mainstream media pushes and what the American public feels. And you see that in moments like this. And I can tell you, I saw the biggest audience growth that I've ever seen, because people were like, oh, some journalist is actually speaking to the anger that we feel.
The women who got her outside court in New York.
So you're going to see women especially that feel like, oh my God, right? Like, here's this man who who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems like this morally good man, which is hard to find.
Yeah, I just realized women will literally date an assassin before they swipe right on me. That's where we are. I'm sure you wouldn't like to be compared to a Trump supporter.
You know what's sad about that? What he's saying is there's probably some truth. I don't even say probably. There's some truth to that. There's some truth to what he just said.
But some of how people cannot understand why people have sympathies for Mangione strikes me as the same as a lot of media not understanding why people support Trump.
I totally agree.
It's because a lot of people are just really, really desperate.
They want somebody to take on the system. They want somebody to tear down these barbaric establishment institutions.
Oh man, this lady, she's something else, man. She is something else. Bragging that fangirling Mangione has led to the biggest audience growth that she's ever had. Wow. This isn't satire either. But to an extent, I mean, she does have a point. This isn't the first time that we've seen someone who's been convicted of a crime. We've seen a few mugshots go viral. We've seen that, men and women. We've seen it. There's documentaries out there, or docu TV series out there of people who fall in love and marry criminals. People who are in prison, probably never going to get out. It does happen. It does happen. So, I mean, honestly, I mean, she does have a point. I mean, seriously, let's not pretend like this is a new thing. I mean, the left, they've been glamorizing criminals for a while. I mean, we're talking, the media giving Netflix specials to all types of crazy people. Progressive DAs refusing to prosecute violent offenders. I mean, this is part of a larger pattern. The message is clear. If you commit a heinous crime, but wrap it in progressive grievance policies or politics, you're a victim, not a villain. You're a victim, not a villain. Taylor Lorenz herself, she even tweeted right after this assassination that people wonder why we want healthcare executives dead. This is what she said, her words. And of course, she did come out and delete it, but she did say it. It's crazy, man.
I do believe in the sanctity of life, and I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like...
Seriously?
I mean...
Joy at a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again,
we're watching the footage. How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband. He's a father.
Hold up. Before I play that right there, I want to show you guys this. Before I do that, hold up. This right here, I don't know if you can see it, but this right here is a tweet that she put out. I hope people learn the names of all these insurance company CEOs and engage in very peaceful letter writing campaigns so that they stop ruthlessly, we can't say that word, unaliving thousands of innocent Americans by denying coverage. Healthcare is a human right. We need universal healthcare now. We do not need universal healthcare. Have you guys seen how that's working out there in Canada right now? Canada has some form of universal health care, and they've had so many people die while waiting on treatment. They've had so many people die while waiting on treatment up there in Canada. And then I want to show this next clip with you guys, because obviously y'all know she goes on Piers Morgan and says that she felt joy. This is an evil individual talking about somebody who is dead and gone, who has 2 children and a wife that has been left behind. And she goes on there and says that she felt joy when the news broke that Brian Thompson had been gunned down. Joy over a man's death. This is crazy. This is a crazy person. And Chris, you're absolutely right. Fairly demonic that you would say something like this on a public platform at that. Man. But this is also the person that says that she believes in the, sanctity of life. I mean, hypocrisy is on 1,000 with this one, seriously.
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like.
Seriously?
I mean,
joy in a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again,
we're watching the footage. How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband, he's a father, and he's being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Thousands of Americans that be murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people. And the many millions of Americans that have watched people that I care about suffer and in some cases die because of lack of health care.
So should they all be killed then? Should they all be killed, these healthcare executives? Would that make you even more joyful?
No, that would not.
But why not?
And,
why are you laughing?
I think because it wouldn't fix the
You seem to find the whole thing hilarious.
I find your question funny.
A bloke's been murdered in the street. I don't find it funny at all.
I don't find it funny that tens of thousands of Americans die every year and because they are denied life-saving health care from people like the CEO. Now, I want to fix the system. You're right. We shouldn't be going around shooting each other with vigilante justice. No. I think that it is a good thing that this murder has led to America, or really the media elites and politicians in this country paying attention to this issue for the first time. You mentioned you couldn't understand why somebody would feel this reaction when they watched a CEO die. It's because you have not dealt, it sounds like, with the American healthcare system in the way that millions of other Americans have.
I've dealt with the healthcare system in various ways in America. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but the idea that I would view it as something.
Have you been denied life?
Hang on. The idea that I would view it as something joyful that a man has been, who's just a healthcare executive, has been executed in the street, I find completely bizarre.
Oh yeah. Before I speak on her, I want to show you guys this real fast. This is a Canadian. Just so you guys know what Taylor Lorenz is advocating for. They have in Canada. They have universal health care in Canada, and it's abysmal, to say the least. Listen to this lady here.
I really don't want to keep telling you this story. Here I am again for the 3rd time going to the United States to get faster cancer care. This time because my tumor markers are starting to trend upwards. They're just outside the normal range, and time is of the essence. For those of you who don't know, a year and a half ago I was diagnosed with a stage 4 ovarian cancer, extremely aggressive. I was diagnosed in Canada, and had I waited for treatment there, I would have died. Instead, because I'm a dual citizen, I went down to the United States, where I'm also a veteran, activated medical benefits, and barely saved my life. Barely got treatment in the nick of time. Treated it aggressively, had the surgeries. March of 2024, I was declared no evidence of disease. Unfortunately, this is a very aggressive cancer, 90 to 95% chance of recurrence with this cancer. So we have done everything we can to be as aggressive as the cancer. We've thrown everything at it since I came home, as most of you know, including off-label medications like ivermectin, anything and everything. But it looks like it's trying to make a comeback. So here in Canada, they told me, yeah, maybe we can get you in a CT scanner in about 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the U.S. oncology team said, get down here right now. We can get you in today. So I'm going to be down there. I'll be in a CT scanner tomorrow. This is an aggressive cancer, so we have to be aggressive. There is no wasting time. So here we are on our way to the U.S. again.
Yeah, so here's a lady who lives in Canada, dual citizen. She has an aggressive form of cancer. They say, hey, we might be able to get you in a couple weeks. Now, I'm not saying that, our healthcare system is the best. Lord knows it could be better. It could be better. But do we really want to go through the things that Canada is going through right now? If you tear a ligament playing ball or something along those lines in Canada, and you have to get an MRI, if you tear a ligament in Canada and you have to get an MRI, it's probably going to be 6 months out before you get seen. It's probably going to be 6 months. They've had thousands of people die in Canada waiting on coverage. They've had thousands of people die in Canada waiting on coverage. Waiting to be seen by a doctor. We really want to model our healthcare after Canada. Please. I'm for certain you don't. It's crazy though. Taylor Lawrence, man, it's just crazy. I mean, this lady was smiling. She was full of glee, and she said joy. Could you imagine getting this excited over someone being assassinated? Someone who is a father, someone who is a husband. Could you imagine being that happy over something like that? Luis, you're absolutely right. This is a heartless, evil individual. We've talked about this in the past. Yes, we need some reform to our healthcare system. We do. We need some reform to our healthcare system. I believe I talked about this maybe last week briefly, but we do need some reform. But what Luigi Mangione did is unacceptable. That is not the answer. That is not the answer. Let me say, take that back. Not what he did, what he allegedly did. That is not the answer. And of course, for Taylor, once the backlash started, she went into, classic, liberal, tier mode. Everybody's attacking me mode. She turned off all her replies on all her tweets, claiming that, she was just observing what others were saying, not expressing her own views. Shout out to Madeline Sanders with the $5 super chat. She says, evil is growing worse and worse. No one should ever champion these types of people. Lawrence shouldn't have a huge following. Crazy. I agree. She shouldn't, and I don't think she does. I'd have to like dive into her platform or whatever, but I don't think she has that big of a following. And the following that she did have, or that she has been able to acquire is because she worked at large legacy media platforms. When you work at the New York Times or you work for the Washington Post, you're going to gain some following just off of that. You're going to gain a pretty solid following just because of the company that you work for, as a quote unquote journalist. But, the internet's undefeated, man, and receipts are always kept. She said what she said, man. But let's talk about the why real fast. Why does the left keep doing this? Why? Why do Democrats have such a strange obsession with criminals? Whether it's cheering on looters, bailing out rioters, and now, standing, alleged, assassins. I mean, the pattern is clear and it's quite obvious. This is a group of people who have built their entire political brand on victimhood and grievance. But they've also been, borderline since their inception, the party of death and destruction. And when your ideology revolves around painting everyone as a victim of some system, you eventually end up sympathizing with the worst people imaginable. And meanwhile, law-abiding Americans get left in the dust. Working people who play by the rules, raise their families, pay their taxes, these people, those people get ignored. They get demonized. But if you commit a violent crime and claim you did it because you were marginalized, suddenly you're a media darling. Suddenly. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, it's upside down morality. That's what it is. The very institutions that should be standing up for justice, standing up for truth, the media, the political class, even parts of our legal system are now celebrating chaos and violence as long as it fits their narrative. In CNN, in MSNBC, and a lot of these, liberal, what do you call them? Liberal podcasters, they support this foolishness. I don't understand, why they support it, but they do. And they give these types of people a platform. They knew exactly what Taylor Lorenz would say. Now, Piers Morgan, I'm gonna give him a pass because I don't know. Because based off his response, he seemed like he was a little taken aback. When she started smiling and said that she felt joy, he did push back. So I don't want to blame. I don't want to say that Piers Morgan, falls into that category. But those folks at CNN, man, they knew exactly what it was. They knew what she would say. They knew that when they brought her home, they knew it, that they could possibly get a viral clip. They were looking for the weird fangirl, commentary. That's what they were looking for. They didn't want insight. They wanted attention. And this is what they've become. And this is bigger than just Taylor. This is about a media and a political elite so lost in their bubble that they think it's edgy or deep to empathize, with people who, commit crimes like this. I mean, it's not edgy. It's not bold. I mean, it's grotesque. Honestly, let's just call it what it is. It's evil. It's demonic. I mean, let me be clear, man. The man accused of this act is not a hero. He's not some revolutionary. He's not a misunderstood genius. He is someone who is facing some serious charges in the assassination of an innocent man. And if convicted, he should spend the rest of his life behind bars. He should. If Democrats and the media want to keep turning monsters into martyrs, they're going to find themselves even more out of touch with everyday Americans who are sick and tired of this nonsense. Because normal people don't cheer for people who do the types of things that Luigi Mangione has been accused of. Normal people don't cheer for those guys. Normal people want justice. And unfortunately, our friends over on the left, man, they should probably be a little more, careful when it comes to cheering on violence in the quote unquote name of ideology. Because when you do that, you never know, when the tables are going to get turned against you. And if you glorify violence, you just might inspire lunatics to take matters into their own hands. I mean, just look at what happened over in Pennsylvania over the weekend. Just look at what happened in Pennsylvania over the daggone weekend.
Lori and I are overwhelmed by the prayers and the messages of support that we've received from all across Pennsylvania and all across the United States. We've heard from our fellow governors and first spouses. We've heard from several of the former governors of Pennsylvania. We've heard from so many friends and loved ones. and we've heard from so many caring citizens of this great Commonwealth. I want you all to know that your prayers lift us up. And in this moment of darkness, we are choosing to see light. And we appreciate the light that you have shined upon us. Pennsylvania State Police, led by Colonel Christopher Paris, will brief on the specifics of what transpired. But we do know that this attack was targeted. We don't know the person's specific motive yet, but we do know a few truths. First, this type of violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. And I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other, directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It is not okay. And it has to stop. We have to be better than this. And we have a responsibility to all be better. Second, if this individual was trying to deter me from doing my job as your governor, rest assured I will find a way to work even harder than I was just yesterday for the good people of Pennsylvania. Here's a third truth. If he was trying to terrorize our family, our friends, the Jewish community who joined us for a Passover Seder in that room last night, hear me on this. We celebrated our faith last night proudly, and in a few hours we will celebrate our second Seder of Passover again proudly. No one will deter me or my family or any Pennsylvanian from celebrating their faith openly and proudly.
That's an unfortunate situation up there. It is. You know, I don't wish anything like that on anyone. But I hate to say it, but I don't think he cared that much when someone tried to take out President Trump in his own state. But I'm not going to go down that road today. I'm not going to go down that road today. Probably shouldn't have said it. But violence of all kind shouldn't be tolerated. It shouldn't be cheered on. None of it. It shouldn't. None of it should be cheered on. But this particular guy, Cody Balmer, 38-year-old from Harrisburg, this young man, I guess you're not a young man when you're 38. You're a middle-aged man at that point. From Harrisburg, scaled an iron security fence at the governor residence around 2 o'clock in the morning on April 13th, just hours after Shapiro and his family celebrated the first night of Passover. This guy, he broke a window with a hammer and tossed in not one, but 2 Molotov cocktails made from Heineken bottles and set the historic mansion on fire while Shapiro, his wife Lori, and their guests were asleep inside. State troopers had to wake him up and to evacuate him. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but the fire caused major damage to the residence. Balmer was caught later that day. And the crazy thing is this, man. Here's the kicker. He told police that he planned to beat Shapiro with a hammer if he saw him. Authorities are looking into this, are looking into, whether this could be considered a hate crime of some sort, possibly tied to Shapiro's Jewish faith, especially since it happened during Passover. But this is exactly why you cannot tolerate violence of any kind, because it escalates into chaos just like this. When the left, when they cheer on people like Mangione, or downplays threats, picks and chooses, which violence is acceptable, like the ones that have been happening, against Tesla owners and Tesla dealerships, against CEOs. I mean, it emboldens people. It emboldens people like Ballmer to take things into their own hands, to take things entirely too far. At some point, we got to draw a line, because violence is not the answer, no matter who's targeted. And it's time for everyone to stop playing games with people's lives. Seriously. And honestly, I think the people who watch CNN, and honestly, anybody that watches any type of media like that, they should hold these types of people accountable. Somebody like Taylor Lorenz, I think somebody said it here in the chat that, somebody like that, man, they shouldn't gain a huge following. And anybody that is following, they should probably stop following an individual like that. They should. It's ridiculous. When you can get on there and say the assassination of a father and a husband brings you joy, the smile, could that have been, the demon in her showing themselves? Could that have been that? What's up, T.A. Kasky? How you doing this morning? What's up, Reza? How you doing this morning, brother? Appreciate you pulling up. It's crazy, man. It really is. They do. Cool, Ramon, you're absolutely right, man. They do. But I appreciate you all pulling up this morning, man. We have 314 people in the chat. I'm not sure exactly how many likes we have, but if you haven't hit that like button for me, please make sure you do so. Please make sure you do so. What's up, Christopher? How you doing this morning? Appreciate you pulling up. But as always, man, I appreciate you all pulling up this morning. As Brett mentioned, please make sure you hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already. Appreciate those that supported the channel financially today. Appreciate that as well. Thanks to all the blues, keeping things civil in the chat. And I appreciate you all, that participate, in the chat, man. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Good to hear, Reza. Glad all is well. All righty, man. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, man. But I appreciate you all. Thank you. It's Tuesday. I hope you guys have a great day today. Lord willing, we'll be right back at it tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. All right. You guys stay safe out there, man. Enjoy the rest of the day. Keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.